Well, hello everybody. Guess what? I decided it's been a while since I made a pizza. I'm hungry for pizza. But this is going to be a different type of pizza. This is going to be a Depression era pizza. It was back in the 30s. Most American people did not know about pizza. They didn't know the first thing hardly about making pizza, what pizza was, or anything else. It all originated, or mostly was in New York area where the Italian people lived. There was a restaurant that was started by some Italians in New York City that was famous for pizza, but I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, if you were Italian, you lived in New York City, you knew pizza. You had pizza all the time. But all the other people that were not Italian, they didn't know really a whole lot about pizza. They didn't have ingredients that we have today to go on pizza. So they mainly survived making pizza with anchovies. Now, back in the day, these anchovies were really cheap. They were like any other canned vegetables or canned meat. You could probably get it for 10, 15, 20 cents a can, maybe not even that much. Because for some reason they were able to get anchovies readily. I mean, they were pretty well available. They were cheap. So that's what they used on their pizza. But we're going to make our dough. And since I'm only going to make one small pizza, I'm not going to make a thick crust. I don't want to make a whole lot of dough. So what I'm going to do is make my dough with only about a cup or half a cup of flour. I can add a little bit later. I've got water here and it's probably way too much water. Because like I said, I'm only making one pie crust, pizza pie crust. Now I've got a teaspoon of yeast, and back then if they didn't have yeast, they made the crust without the yeast. I've got a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. I've got about a half a teaspoon of sugar in here, and that's it. And I'm going to end up with way too much dough, I know. But you can store your dough in the refrigerator and keep it if it's tightly wrapped. I know a lot of you have seen me making pizza crust and not using yeast, and that's why. Because back in the day, during the Depression, a lot of times they didn't have yeast to put in the bread or the dough. So they made pie crust or the pizza dough without yeast in it. And I've made several pizzas already on my videos doing just that. Yeah, I had way too much water, I think, because I'm cutting down the recipe. I didn't want that much dough. I mean, I could have went ahead and made the whole recipe and just froze part of the dough or put it in the refrigerator and kept it for another day. Now I'm going to knead it just a little bit. I always knead it the way my mama always did. I mean, they, you know, unless you were at the restaurant, I guess, they didn't have the pepperoni and all that stuff. They probably, in the restaurants, used prosciutto, the sliced ham, the real thin sliced ham on their pizzas, or other meats. They didn't have like a pepperoni like we have now. They used a sausage. Okay, now what I'm going to do, clean my hands up. I mean, you've seen me make several pizzas in my videos not long ago that did not have yeast in the dough. And that was why, because back in the day, back during the 30s, a lot of time they may not have had the yeast to put in there. So they just made like a bread dough and made it that way. Now I'm going to take a bowl and I'm going to spray it with some olive oil. I do want to get my bowl a little warm because it is a little cold. Just put it in the microwave for a second or two. It's just barely warm, but that's better than being real cold, because we didn't want it real cold. Now I'm just going to form a nice dough ball, put it right in there. I'm going to spray olive oil on it, on the top. And since it's got that little bit of yeast, I'm going to cover it. And I'm going to set it in the microwave, because the microwave is about the warmest place I've got in my kitchen right now, because I do have my AC turned on because it was so hot outside. Because I just warmed the bowl up a little bit, I'm going to put it in the microwave. That keeps it out of drafts, and it's about the warmest place I've got in my kitchen. But like I said, I'm not turning the microwave on. I'm going to leave it. Now we're going to try to leave the dough covered until it's doubled or tripled in size, and probably leave it for half hour to maybe an hour, and we'll come back. Well, y'all, I think my pizza dough has risen enough. I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 450 while I get my dough ready. I got way too much dough. I may not have to do that. I'm just going to kind of knead it just a couple of times. You don't want to overdo your dough. I'm going to go ahead and lightly spray my pan with olive oil. Now you can roll your dough out. You can do it any way you want to. Stretch it out to fit your pan. And it's kind of like chewing gum. When it's chewed up, it wants to stretch and go back to place. So you have to work with it. That's the only thing I don't like about making pizza dough, is because, guess you can see it here. It's kind of hard to get it stretched out to your pan. And I can't flip it up in the air and do like a lot of these restaurant people do. So I just kind of put mine, spread it out in the pan with my fingers, just keep working with it. Eventually, you know, you'll get enough oil mixed in with it that it'll straighten out in your pan and eventually cover your pan where you put your toppings on. It just takes a little bit of working with it. Had a black spot. I don't know where that came from. But see how I'm working with it? That little bit of oil that was in the pan after I flipped it over, plus the oil that was sprayed on the dough when I put it in the bowl, helps straighten it out. And it doesn't stick to your hands because you got that olive oil in your dough. It's still going to try to shrink on you, so you got to keep working with it. Just keep working with it and it'll eventually cover your pan and kind of stay put. And if it doesn't stay completely round, that's okay as well. That's one thing about if you don't put yeast in your dough, it doesn't get this stretchy to where it doesn't want to stay flattened out. The yeast is kind of what does that. Now I think I'm about ready to start putting toppings on it. And hopefully my oven will be at 450 by the time I get all my toppings on. Get this off here. Now we're going to take, now normally back in the day they used homemade tomato sauce, pizza sauce. I've got a small can of tomato sauce that I'm going to use. I'm just going to spread it all over my pizza, my dough. Now, you know, you can get regular pizza sauce if you want. But like I said, back in the day, in the 30s, a lot of time they just used a canned sauce like I'm using. Or they used if they had the tomatoes, sometimes they grow tomatoes in their garden. If they had one, had a place for a garden. And they would make a homemade pizza sauce. And we're going to try to leave a little bit of the edge of the pizza dough. Because, you know, they didn't go all the way to... I went too far to the edge on that. They didn't go usually to the very edge of the dough. They left about an inch or so space all around it. So hopefully the toppings didn't go off of your pizza. You know, so your... But sometimes if you get it all the way to the edge of your dough, and it only took about half of that can, so, you know, you could make 2 with that. Now we're going to take mozzarella cheese, and they didn't have shredded mozzarella back in the day in the 30s. They usually got it in a big clump, you know, a ball, and they sliced it off and put pieces on the pizza. You know, I've got shredded mozzarella, so I'm going to use it. And I like quite a bit of cheese on mine. You know, they put what they had. If they had a lot of cheese, they put a lot of cheese. If they didn't have a lot of cheese, they put what they had on it. Because mozzarella cheese was not too easy to come by. Not much left in here, so I'm just going to use what's left in the bag. Now they also would use red onion, and I've diced up a little bit of red onion here. Well, you know what? I think I'm going to put my garlic on first. And I've got minced garlic that I'm putting on. It's already minced up, but you know, they just crush theirs and put it on. I don't even know if they had minced garlic back then. Now I'm going to add my red onions. Whoops, I dropped that bowl. I'm going to add, they use black olives because that was more available to them than the green ones. But I've got a mixture. I've got black and green ones, so I'm going to put a few of both on there. I love olives on my pizza. And I usually put way too many toppings on my pizza. But back in the day, you know, they probably didn't have that much. Another thing that they used was the main ingredient was anchovies. These little bitty anchovies. And I've never put anchovies on a pizza before, so this is something new for me. But I couldn't wait to try it. I've always heard about it. I've seen it in movies where they got anchovies, pizza with anchovies and all that good stuff. But I never have tried it, so I wanted to try it. But you know what? These anchovies are not cheap today. This little can was like $3.59. But like I said, back during the Depression, they were readily available. And they didn't cost that much. So that's what they used. They put them in salads. They put them in a lot of different dishes. They even made sandwiches out of anchovies. Now, I have never thought to make a sandwich with anchovies. Never in my life. But now I've got some grated or shredded Parmesan. Now, sometimes they had Parmesan, sometimes they didn't. Put a little bit of the Parmesan on top. There, that'll do it. See that? That's going to be a good pizza. And like I said, I have never eaten anchovies before, but I love sardines and stuff like that. So I said, well, you know, I probably will like the anchovies too, because they're little fish. So we're going to put them in a 450-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. And I am going to set my timer for 19 minutes. And I'm going to go ahead and clean up some stuff while it's cooking, and we'll... I think while the pizza is cooking, I'm going to share this with you. I got the really nice Christmas card in the mail, and I wanted to share it with you. It's from James and Frida Cassidy. I know she's always leaving comments in the videos, and I'm always answering her comments. She lives in Ohio. But look at this. Happy holidays. Isn't that pretty? It's got a little doggy on the front. And on the inside, she said, December 1 is my birthday. December 3rd is when she got married. Her and Pat got married. Pat's birthday is June 19th. He was 25 and I was 17 when we got married. And she's wishing me all the best in the world. She's wishing me a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and she says, God bless you. So Frida and Pat, I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Have a safe and lovely time for Christmas and New Year this year. I love your card. Thank you so much for sending it. I appreciate it so much. It always lifts my heart when I get even a little card in the mail from some of my subscribers. And I'm going to put it right on my freezer door with a lot of other stuff that was sent to me from subscribers. But I wanted to share that with you while my pizza was finishing cooking. And I won't need to check on it. Oh, it's getting all bubbly. And it's browning nicely. It's got about 5 more minutes and we can take it out. Well, the timer went off. So I think our pizza is done. Oh, it looks good, y'all. I can get it out of the oven. Oh my goodness, look at that. Woo. That is a good looking pizza right there, y'all. Oh my goodness. All that cheese. This will be the first pizza I've had that didn't have pepperoni on it. I wanted to check the underside. Yeah, it's brown enough. I'm not used to the fish smell on my pizza. But when, you know, I wanted to see what all the fuss was about anchovy pizza. Like I said, I've never had anchovies on my pizza before. I may not like it, but I'll be eating this pizza anyway. Look at that. And I can't bite it, but I'm definitely gonna take a fork, I think, and get me a piece off of it so I can taste it with anchovies. I don't even know if I got one with anchovies on it, but dear Lord, bless this food I'm about to eat. Bless all the YouTubers out there. Bless everybody in need of prayer. Bless my family and friends. Bless the fur babies. And bless this food I'm about to eat. Amen. Yeah, if it wasn't this hot, I'd just pick it up and bite it. But y'all take a bite. My anchovy pizza. Mmm. It's different. It's a little salty because I guess the anchovies are salty. That's one reason I didn't add salt, because the ingredients that I put on this pizza are salty already. It's pretty good. It's different. Like I said, I've never had a pizza with anchovies. And if you got basil, you can cut up basil, fresh basil, and just sprinkle it on your pizza after you take it out of the oven. I had forgot to do that. I went out in the garden and got basil just to do this, and then I forgot about it. Usually I chop my basil up and I put it on my pizza, but then I cook it with the basil on top. But I tell you, this pizza looks good and it tastes good. It just tastes different than what I'm used to. A little bit different than my pepperoni and like hamburger and sausage and stuff I normally put on there. But let's come over here and have a good look. Look at that. Don't that look good? Depression era pizza, homemade pizza with anchovies. And that's, you know, they were lucky if they just had cheese with the anchovies and a little bit of onion with the tomato sauce on it. Sometimes they didn't even have the onion. But it turned out to be a really good pizza, and it looks fantastic. Look at that. And some black olives. So try you a Depression era pizza with anchovies. I think you'll like it. Bye now.